Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Terraria.
Now, as a forewarning, this is going to be a very long and almost, if not completely time-lapsed episode. In my previous video of Terraria, I said I was doing a small dig and showed a little bit of what I was doing. That was misleading intentionally. I didn't want to spoil what I was doing. I'm actually doing a huge dig. I am encasing the V that generates when you first enter hard mode, but I'm doing it before it actually generates. The way this V generates is based on the center of your world, and it's predetermined based on the seed. So, while I won't know it until I first see the V, if I knew where it was, I could seal it out forever before it even generates. And that's what I did by using two methods. The first thing I did, well, it's only one method, but a combination of two different things. What I did was I defeated the wall of flesh, entered hard mode, waited for the V to generate, and then I found where it was on the surface, and I went a little bit underground to get the slope, and then I just extended that down till I entered the underworld, and did that for every edge of both sides of the V. The problem is, this is not accurate, and also the slope of the V changes. This was only to give me a rough idea of what I needed to look for. What I did after was I went through and manually lit up the edge of the V, so I knew exactly where it ended at all times. After this, I would just go in my world, mine down, check to see if I'm online every now and then, make sure it's still containing the crimson and not going too far off course, and then just continue mining. Now, I only recorded one of the edges, and that recording took 6 hours to do. These take a very long time. From the top of the world to the underworld, I believe for a large world, you are removing 2,000 blocks or more. I know it's around there. I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere around 2,000, maybe 3,000. I don't think it's that high, but it's somewhere around 2,000. It's above 2,000, somewhere around there. Since we are digging diagonally, that also adds to the length of the line. And you also aren't just mining one row of block, you are mining 4 at minimum. Or at least I am, because I'm going to line it with wood. I'll get into that in a moment. But 4 of these large diagonal lines cutting through the entire world, and they're more than 4 blocks thick. It does take a long time. I think I calculated each one to be about 4 hours to mine everything and line it with wood, and that's assuming it goes perfectly. Mobs and water and lava all get in the way and make things much longer than it should. Mobs, probably the worst. You can deal with them, of course, with weapons. They're still an annoyance, though. Anyhow, like I said, I'm also lining it with wood. This is because wood is an uninfectable block. It can't be crimsonified nor corrupted, nor hallowified. And these, the crimson, hallow, and corruption, there are these vines that can grow on the bottom of certain blocks, if there is grass near them. And these can spread the corruption, or crimson, or hollow, whatever the case may be. So I'm lining it with wood to be 100% certain, no matter where in my world, I am completely fine, and that nothing can be infected. I've said it many times, but this is because all of my previous worlds have been completely corrupted, or crimsonified, or hollowed. So this time, I want this world to last a long time. So I'm going to be taking the measures now to avoid any of this happening. Another thing that can spread the corruption, whatever it is demon altars. Whenever you smash them with a hammer, there is a % chance that some block in the world, you won't know where, but some block in the world will become corrupted. That is why I also was fishing for a very long time to get crates.
because crates you can open, get the hard mode ores, and they won't, of course, spread the corruption already. I'm saying corruption for the Crimson and Hollow in my case. Easier than saying both. So for the past few days that I was not uploading, that's what I was doing. I was digging and doing my final bits of fishing. All of this took a very long time. I would say at least 20 hours to do all of that. Straight 20 hours. 'Cause these, probably more honestly, but these huge tunnels took so long to do. I had to get the resources for it, mining them took so long, and again the mobs got in the way so much. I have so many cave bat banners now, because I had to kill so many. So many other mob banners too. I'm also trying to get the ammo box, so that would distract me if I got a traveling merchant to show up. I have yet to get one after. I don't even know how many traveling merchants, but that's a story for another day. So to give more of a guide to do this in case someone out there wanted to do it for themselves, what I did was, like I said, I defeated the wall of flesh, let the hard mode V generate, then I explored it and made sure the edge was completely lit up, so I knew where it was at all times. After it was all explored, I took a screenshot of the map, and then I went back to my world backup that was still in pre-hard mode, and I just mined based on where the edge was, but I also went out a few blocks because there is feathering at the end of the V. So you need to account for that, and you don't know if you'll ever go too far in, so you do want to give yourself a lot of extra room. Matter of fact, that brings me onto one of my tunnels, which actually had that problem. It was cutting into the V, and it wasn't containing it all. I chose to redo the tunnel entirely. I had to do this by going to a world backup, which my third tunnel was only halfway completed in that backup. So I had to do half of the third tunnel again, and do the entire fourth tunnel again. That did not help on how long this took, but I got there eventually. In the footage that you're seeing right now, I also made a huge oopsie. I'm lining the floor with wood, when I should actually be lining the ceiling with wood. Now, true to my own nature, I only realized this at the very, very end, when I'm finally done. So that I have to mine all of that wood on the floor and put it on the ceiling. So that again, added a lot of unnecessary time. I decided to use this footage though, because, I mean, I gotta be honest, it's pretty funny. And on top of that, it's still showing what is being done. I'll just do the adding it to the ceiling in a much faster time lapse. Which also you'll be able to see all the mobs and water that I had to deal with. At least to a degree. This was the second tunnel that I did. I don't remember how much of an issue they were for me, but they were huge issues for other tunnels. Another problem for me was my hallow is cutting through the jungle. Now apparently the jungle is a natural defense for the corruption. However, I saw that it does convert mud into dirt. I remember reading that. I don't know how effective it is or when it can't do that. So just to be safe, I also lined the jungle side of the hallow with wood as well. That's the thing about this, you don't want any mistakes to be made. Also, when I'm lining these, I explore a little bit on each side of the edge. That's so I can see if the corruption is generating too close to where my tunnel is. You do want to light up around your tunnel as well. I should have done that more here, but for my purposes it should be somewhat alright for what I did. You want to do that because when this V generates, any lighting up you have done that is inside of the V, it will update on your map. Normally this wouldn't be the case for tiles being missing, but when
when this V generates, I noticed that it automatically updated my map. So I was able to see where the changes were made. That'll allow me for when I first enter hard mode to make sure my tunnels are lined where they should be, and if they aren't, to go back and dig out whatever I need to. So it's very important to also light up around your tunnels so you know if that happens. The amount of loot you get this also helps make the worth as well. You're gonna be finding the rare gems that are hard to find. You're gonna be encountering enemies that may be dropping things that you might need. It is very dangerous though, especially if you have to cut through the jungle, so make sure you're prepared for it if you were to do this. This has taken a very long time. I've been focusing as much time and energy into it as I could. That's why I haven't been uploading. I really wanted to get this done, because this is why my Terraria series has been on hold. I don't want to enter hard mode until I've done this, but I've done everything that I can in pre-hard mode. If you were to do this for yourself, you probably don't need to do everything that I did. Some of my tunnels I have made huge, much bigger than they need to be. I just wanted to do that. I'd rather be safer than sorry. I have never had a world that I can keep, so this is going to be the first. Also, if you do this and decide that you want to cleanse your world, it's going to be much easier to take, I think it's called the Plantaminator, and just use the green solution and purify your world. It'll be much easier to do this way if you already have it segmented out, and the only spot it's in is this little V. I'll show footage of the entire end result once I'm finished with this tunnel and relining it properly. You can see just how much I've done. My final fourth tunnel is the one that I messed up, as I mentioned. So that one goes much further down than it should. I can't tell because that one was generated in the jungle. If part of your V generates in the jungle, it will be very hard to tell where the edge is, because most of the blocks will be mud, and mud can't be corrupted. It can be turned to dirt, I've read, but it won't do that on the initial V generation. So you'll have to look through and find some way to know where it ends. It was very difficult for me to do, but I ended up getting it, so I'm happy. I'll let this time-lapse play out, and see you at the end result, so thanks for listening.
Alright, so this is the end result of lots of hard work and lots of digging. I'm wearing the peddler's hat because the traveling merchant still refuses to give me the ammo box, so I got angry and killed him. Anyhow, my crimson was a little bit odd in the fact that it's cutting through a naturally generated pyramid, which the sandstone of the pyramid can't be crimsonified. So for the top half, where that pyramid is fully generating, that was fine, but the under part of it didn't contain it all. So I did some weird setup where I took out an initial section going down to the sandstone, and the rest of the V would not generate beyond it. But just in case, I lined the bottom with wood, so that even if somehow this side does get crimsonified, I'll still be secured. But here is this long tunnel. This is the one that I accidentally lined the floor with wood, and then I had to go back and line the ceiling as I should have. It got a little bit close here, so I mined all of the blocks nearby. It looks somewhat natural, and it's not a problem for me, so I was completely fine with doing that. I ended up fine down here, so all was well. I will still be monitoring it, like I said, because I will see immediately when the crimson generates. I will see if this is containing it properly or not, because the map immediately updates. I'll know if any goes past, and I'll know if it's all contained or not. That's why I said you should explore it out a little to make sure. This was the first tunnel that I did. It's much smaller. You can see I dug a lot more blocks on the other tunnels. This one came out much further than it needed to. It should have ended around here, but I accidentally went too far. I was using a set pattern for this tunnel. This is actually something that I should have mentioned. This tunnel took me the longest because I'm using a set pattern. If you watch here, it's 2 blocks, 1 block down, 2 blocks down, 1 block down, 2 blocks down, and it does that until somewhere around here. Then I realized it was just taking too long, then I broke away from the pattern. Doing that took absurdly long to do. That pattern alone probably took 10 hours just to do this little bit here, because you have to mine every single block manually. You can't use the mining potion because it's so slow, you're not going to get any efficiency out of it. And plus, that doesn't even match the slope of the V. I don't know what the slope of the V is, and it changes. It doesn't change very often, it tends to just be less steep here, and then it gets steeper as it goes. I think that's how it is, at least. So it's impossible to match it perfectly. I didn't even do it perfectly either, there was a few mistakes. So that was the first tunnel. That one took by far the longest because I was following that pattern. And you can see it's almost perfectly straight until somewhere around here when I started breaking away from that pattern. The rest of these, I just took the auto mining and just followed the pattern as best as I could of going about 2 down then 1 down. Of course, since I wasn't actually mining them all by hand, it was a little bit more random. You can also see some of the loot that you find. All of the stuff that I explored. I have explored so much of this map just with all the work that I put into it. I should have explored both sides of this more. If I ever find the time, I think I'm going to have to do that, explore more of these. Because there's just not enough to know if it's being contained properly or not. This one, like I said, was harder, because this one was entirely through the jungle. Except for, of course, when I go through these. These were great markers, though. You can see this one, I went farther down than I should have. I should have ended around here. It's not that bad, though. I also went back further. This is the one that I had to redo entirely. If you were to do this for yourself, what I did, I fought the wall of flesh, and then I let the V generate. I explored it on a backup of the world, lit up the edges, and then I just took my actual world and followed my V along that, lining it with wood so no thorns or anything can spread. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of Terraria. Oops. I know it was mostly time-lapse, but this was a lot of work that I had to get done, and there was no way I could compile all of it into an enjoyable video if it were to be non-time-lapsed. It would just be a progress update of here. Okay, now I'm here. Now I'm here. Anyhow, thank you all so much for joining me on this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll hopefully see you on the next one, so if I will see you there, I'll be waiting.